All right, guys, so let's see now how we're gonna do it for Windows. So open a browser and we're gonna go to nifi.apache.org like we did in the previous one. We're gonna download the NiFi binary, and we're gonna choose the bin zip. It's the same process. Click on it, this will download. Depending on how fast the download is, it's not pretty, it's 1 gigabyte. In the meantime, let's do the following. We're gonna go to a location on our computer. I'm gonna do it on desktop, and I'm gonna say NiFi installation. So we're gonna go to the NiFi installation and we're gonna refresh it. All right, so let's see what's the status of it. Okay, but looking at it, it's gonna take 20 more minutes. Okay, let's go to download. Yeah, the speed is not that great, so I'll put it a break and continue when it's done. All right, so let me see here. Managed to download it, so this is it here. What you want to do, you want to unzip it. Let's say extract all. That's fine. Put it in these locations. So it's the same scenario as in Linux, but instead of using the command line, which probably you guys are not that familiar, we use this Windows Gui interface, which is going to be of great help for you guys. Let me see one thing here. Okay, this is recording. I was just curious. I didn't want to talk by myself. All right, so he's going to pop you up with the location. We're going to jump in and go to configuration like we did there. We're going to take a copy of this bad boy here. Yep, so NiFi properties, you see he created a copy of it, and now we're going to edit it. Use your editor of choice, and we're going to look for port. There you go, pop us up to 8080, and this one I'm going to put it 8181. Save it, close it, go back to the installation folder, go to the binary. Now what you want to do is run the run/nifi.bat. Before you run it, press shift, click right, and run it as administrator. The reason why is because he's going to look through some Java libraries, and he's going to have access, he's going to require access to some of the executables on your machine. All right, so this window is going to stay open. We're going to go back to our logs. As you guys can see, it has the same structure as Linux. And we're going to refresh this one. And what we want to do, we want to look at the NiFi log app. All right. It's going to take some time for it to get populated. Let's refresh it. Okay, we're getting data there. Just give it a few more refreshes. This takes a bit of time. We can also see here, if we use the task manager, there's already a Java process popping up consuming our CPUs. This is because he's trying to read all the jars and put them in memory. So we got this one with 46. I'm gonna close it down, and I think we're ready to look at it. So let's open it up and go to the bottom of it. Should give us a link. Not yet. Okay. These editors are not that smart, so I can refresh the content. I'll have to close it, go back to the location, and see where I am. Refresh. Okay, I think we're good to go. Open it up again. Page down. Come on. All right. So as you guys see, Windows, it's a bit more lazy. And also my machine is not as strong as the server that I showed you guys. Anyway, what I wanted to show you guys are these URLs. Since I'm on a Wi-Fi and there's a bunch of networks on my machine, what you want to do to make sure none of these are dynamic, or because some of these are dynamic IPs allocated to my machine from my internet provider, you want to use this link. So what you're going to do, you're going to copy it, open a browser. I prefer to do my work in Firefox, and whatever browsing I do, it's in Google. So port, and that's it. We're logged in, and I'm not going to walk you guys through the other workflow like we did it in the past. What I'll do, I'll walk you guys a bit through the components of a workflow. So first one here, these are the processors. So the processor, like I mentioned, it's a black box. So you see, you can either click on it, or what you want to do, you want to grab it and drag it to your canvas. This is going to give you a bunch of processors. You can either go through them, or if you are familiar with their naming convention, you just type their name. Or if they are in any of these groups, let's say I want to get a processor that works with SQL. All right, so this is going to list them all. If you want to go to another category, this you will have to remove the old one. All right, because he will try to cross join them, and we don't want that, otherwise you lose the other one. So as you can see here, you got put SQL, you got execute SQL, list database tables, query record, select Hive QL. This is Hive query language. You got execute SQL. This execute SQL, it gives you an explanation here, what it does, how it works, and more details. Let's say, for example, let's add this processor. All right. When you add the processor in, so processor, for you guys to pretty much understand, it's a black box. He doesn't pretty much care what you put in it, as long as the Java executable receives the data that he's supposed to receive, and he will end up doing the right thing. Otherwise, he will give you an error like I showed you guys. So when you click right on it, you get the ability to configure, you get the ability to disable it. So for example, if I want to run it, there's nothing running. So I'll do click right and start whatever processes I have here. Since this is disabled, it's not going to run. So what I'll do, I'll enable it, refresh, and I'll start it. Nothing is going to start as well because there's an issue here. There's missing configuration. So I'll stop it. You can delete it from here. You can copy, you can change the color. Let's say I want to make this one green. There you go. So this is an easier way to identify. You guys can create color patterns where you, let me see, am I still recording? Yes, I'm still recording. You can create color patterns for your processors, for their particular scope, or whatever. If you want to leave them the same, that's up to you guys. If you want to know more about the processor, just click right and use the button usage. This will open the official documentation and will tell you what parameters he receives. It will give you a short description, and many of the times this description is not convincing. So if you guys have any question, feel free to shoot them back to me. So this is a processor. This is how you use a processor. So to delete it, you just select it and press key delete, or click right and delete. Now, if you want to create a process group, this is the key that you'll just drag and say you give it a name, process group. And this will create pretty much a container that let's say you can configure this container and say read HTTP API. All right, you're gonna apply. This is gonna save it, and we're gonna close this down. And you see we have a comment here. What is this process group for? This one reads HTTP APIs. All right, to get inside the processor, you double click. To leave the processor, you click right and you say leave group. So if you want to get in, enter group. You want to get out, leave group. Or if you look at the bottom here, you have you have a couple of breadcrumbs. So let's give you guys an example. I'll create another process group and get into it. And if you look here, we suddenly are from the NiFi flow to the process group to the secondary one. If I want to jump straight up to NiFi flow, which is the main canvas, just click on it and I'm already outside. I'm going to click in. As you guys can see, I'm already jumping inside. Let's say I want to delete a process group. Just click delete. Another thing, if you guys enter the process group and you add a processor, let's say I'm going to add this one, just a dummy. I'm going to leave it, and let's say I want to try to delete it. You can delete it as well as everything that is in it. So that's really important. If you want to delete something, make sure there's no components in. So if you want to see what components are in, let's say A, if there are any, and add one processor, leave the group. This one will give you a short summary of what's happening there. So you got 1 that's with an issue, you got 0 that are okay, you got 0 that are running, and here these are, I'll go over this this item here in future tutorials. Probably you guys will also uncover it. And you see here you got disabled. So let's see, I want to delete this one. All right, delete. We're going to leave this group and we're going to go to this main group. Now, this canvas, this other item here, this is a remote process group. I'm going to go over it with you guys probably in the future. A remote process group is when you have 2 NiFi servers and you want them to communicate with one with each other. Let's say the same concept as an SSH tunnel. So you don't, this one you see pretty much it gives you the URL and what's the NiFi location, what is the type of the transport protocol. Let's say if you click on it, it will give you some specified transport protocol between remote process group communication. So what this tells you is that you can have another let's say NiFi server running in the United States that is collecting data from there, but in the same time I wanted to sync some data with the NiFi cluster or server in Australia. So we're going to use this remote process group to have this communication done. And you got here proxy user, proxy server name, local network user. You got all these details, yield duration, communication timeout. So if you guys want information, you see, you just go over this and pretty much it tells you what this property will do or what is this supposed to do. If you want more information about it, let's see, I'll add it, the URI specified. Okay, so let's just put some dummy URI here. As you can see, he won't let you. All right, so I'm gonna do a remote one to myself. Let's see how he works with it. All right, cool. He will cry, establishing connection. He's trying to communicate to himself. Remote instance is not configured to allow raw site-to-site communication at this time, which makes sense because this is the default installation. If you want to get more information about this, the same. You got configuration, you got remove ports, enable transmission, disable transmission. These are the buttons that I mentioned when I showed you guys here. Is communication for this process group disabled for outside ports? Yes, no. Downstream connection. Once you get into it, configure, and you can see you get a bunch of information here. We're gonna go over this in the future. Anyway, with the basic layout, another thing here in the layout, let's say we have this here. I'll take a copy of it and we'll paste it here, and we're gonna put it a bit more separate. The interesting part, you see you have a canvas and you can't actually see everything because there's a bunch of things. Here you can zoom in or zoom out and you can see the more object but less detail. If you want to zoom out, if you click on the canvas and you drag, all the objects will move, unless you click on a single object, and you drag it. In this case, only this object will move. If you wanna, let's say, central or fit, you just click, this will fit everything on a single canvas. Or you want to make it center for this particular object that you selected. For example, this is not selected, I'll try to fit it, nothing happens. But if I go and say, for example, I'll select this one and I want it to be centered, this one will get in the middle of the canvas. Another good, and that's why I mentioned colors. If you, for example, let's add a color background or a note. So I'm going to take this example to also explain this item here. This item here is pretty much, I want to identify better an item. So what you want to do, this is a note. If you want to configure it, and let's say I'm going to change color, I give it this color, and I want to configure it. And what I'll do is say this is a special process group. Cool. Apply, and then I'll drop this on top of it. Keep in mind, this won't stay fixed on top of it. This is just a layout for me to better view it when I look at the canvas. You see, I know that the pink ones in our team, they represent data coming in. All right, so if you're here, I'll say, okay, I want to see this one. Where is it? Oh, it's here. Because you look at the canvas or you look here at the overall picture, you know, this will give you a better overview. If you want to minimize this canvas or the navigation, you just click here or here. If you want to minimize the operator, same thing. This will click. If you click back on it, it will open it back again. All right. So let's go now over the templates. Like I showed you guys, if you have a template in XML, and this is really important for you guys to work as a team on top of this this software, it's always good to work in templates and find a way to version them. Let's say by the end of the day, you guys did some work on top of a template. All right, you save your work, you note it down, you version it, and tomorrow you start from that version, but you keep a copy of whatever you did a day before. If you want to roll back or whatever changes you did, you're not going to be happy with, you go back to the previous template. So let's say, for example, I want to upload a new template like I showed you guys. These are the buttons here. Let's see, I'm gonna go inside this process group, which is copy of process group. Click the button upload template, and I'm gonna browse the location. Let's say I want to see one of these, fun with HBase, one of the templates that I built. Cool. I'm gonna upload it. Nothing is gonna happen. You see, we have this dot here. If the XML is bad formatted or you copy it from I don't know, from an HTML HTTP location and it's missing headers or whatever, this will give you an error. So I'll say okay, nothing happens right now. Why? Because we actually uploaded a template. We haven't loaded a template onto the canvas. If you want to load the template, you have this button here. What you want to do, you want to drag it in, and this will show you all available templates. Not all available templates on your machine, all available templates loaded onto Apache NiFi repository. So if I want to load it, I'll just click this one and add. But before I do that, I want to show you guys another way to see the templates. In the far right of the canvas, you have this three-dotted line, is like a menu. If you click on it, this is an administration menu. And here you have also a button called templates. If you click on it, this will list all the templates you had loaded, let's say. Description, it's empty string because we haven't added any description. If you want to download the template and you want to, let's say, save it after you did some changes, you can use this button. If you want to delete it and get rid of it, just click this button. In our case, we're not going to delete it. I'm going to close it down and I'll show you guys how we can load the template. So I'm going to add it. Depending on the size of the template, this is going to take some time. So as you can see here, it's pretty big and we have objects all over. If I want to move to this location, instead of me having to do this and drag the canvas, what I'll do, I'll click on top of this square here and I'll put it here. So as you can see, I can go here, I can go back here, or I can limit it, or let's say I want to have this in the middle. All right, this will put it so we can see it better. Now I'm gonna walk you guys. I'm gonna make, let's say I want to save this template. We made some changes, we worked, we're happy with what we did for today, and we're gonna finish our work, and then let's save it and version it. What you want to do, once you have the whole canvas, you don't have to select anything. You don't want to select a single object. What you want to do, you want to go here and say create templates, and I'll say new template. All right, create template. New template was successfully created. All right, so I'm gonna refresh it. I'm gonna go back to my template reporting dashboard, and now you guys see we have a new template. Let's say I want to share with my good friend Johnny. Cool. I'll click on it and I'll save it. This is gonna open an option and he's gonna say, okay, what you want to do? You want to save it depending on your browser. I have a browser that gives me a widget download link, or it opens it straight up in Notepad, but let's say I want to save it to a file. So okay, this file was saved, and new template. We don't want to reload this one, and this is the template, guys. This is how it looks. A bunch of mumbo jumbos with unique identifiers type. So it's pretty big. All the elements that are used, all the geolocation, everything you want here. You don't actually have to be able to read this one. This is just this is data about data. So this is how you save a template. Let's say now I want to make a change or whatever, or I want Johnny, my friend, to use the same template. I'll give it a new name here and say, this is how you change the template name, because the file name is not the template name. Keep in mind, the template name sits under the attribute called name. So I say template for Johnny. I'm going to save it, close it down, and where did this one save? So open location. Where's the location for this bad boy? Okay, it's in download. gonna save it, and let's say you guys have a shared location via Dropbox, or you have it in the cloud, or you send it by emails. You guys can see this was 45 kilobytes. It's not a lot of. Okay, still recording, 25 minutes and going. All right, soon I'll be done with it. Let's say you send it to your friend Johnny, and Johnny wants to see what you've done so far. Cool. Go back to the NiFi canvas, leave this group, because, or even better, let's get in, select everything and remove it. To select everything, Shift A, everything selected, and press delete. And voila, nothing is there. As you guys can see, here's the summary. There is nothing there. And let's say I want to load that one that we just. The same process. Button upload template. Look for the template on your location, and our was on downloads, new template. Though it's called new template, we're gonna upload it. Template successfully imported. Now that we're gonna go and say load my template onto the canvas, check out the name, template for Johnny. We're gonna load it, and there you go. This is great for let's say you don't want to rebuild it, you don't want to redo the wheel, you know. These are components that are reusable, easy to use. All right, let's go to the operation dashboard here. At the operation dashboard, you have configuration. If you select a single item and you go to the configuration, you change configuration for that item. As you hear, fetch data, fetch user data. And you see this is the name. If you don't select nothing and you go here, you change the configuration of the processing group, of the processor group, or if you are on the main canvas, and let's say we select nothing and we go here, this is the NiFi flow main canvas, and you can put process group, which itself it's a process group. All right, so let's get back in here, and if you want to use this one, the same thing like I told you guys, disabling, it's going to disable this particular item. You can do it from here, or you can click on it and say disable. All right, that's about it. You guys make sure you shoot any question my way. So another thing, if you feel that it's hogging your machine, right? My laptop is really slow, it's killing it. Cool, no problem. What you want to do, you want to go to the configuration file, and based on each one of you guys laptop configuration, you can limit the consumption of the Java processes on your machine. So if you see here right now, if I go to and try to track down the Java service, where are you, bad boy? Java, right now he cooled out. We got only 2 of them. He's not that CPU intensive right now because there's nothing running. There is some memory added to it, and keep in mind, the more templates you add, the more memory he's going to consume. But as you guys, if you have 1,000 templates, then yes, that is an issue. But since this is not the case, and so the template has 45 KB, that's not going to be a big problem. So if you say, it's hogging, I want to do some resource management on it, cool, no problem. Here you have all the information you need to configure it. But keep in mind, after you change anything here, you have to restart your instance. So let's say change some Java configuration here. There you go. Large values for char size will result in more Java heap usage when searching for Providence repository. So this is when you look for data lineage and you have a huge data lineage, this is the max size of memory he will consume for that particular one. So there's a bunch of properties or buffer size for the repository. What's the snapshot frequency of the components, because he's internally going to do a snapshot of all the work that you do there. There's a repository rollover size, storage size. You can even limit the allocation of the size. And as you can see here, each one is divided by particular properties. If you want to go into details with this configuration, you just come and ask me. I'm not aware of all of them, but I have no doubt that we can figure it out using their official documentation. All right, I'm gonna close this one down because it's gonna take some time for this video to be rendered. If you want to shut it down, let's say I've started it, keep in mind just closing this box here won't do the trick. So let's say I've closed it, probably it will do the trick, and I refresh it. Let's see what happens. Still thinking. No. So even though you close that, if you close that window that I showed you guys when we initiated, that's not going to do the trick. So what you want to do here, you want to go back to the bin, and no, actually what you want to do, since I'm not a Windows fan and I'm not using it that often, I normally go here and I say, okay, end task for this particular Java binary. No other process for Java. I'm going to refresh it, go back to this, trying to refresh, see what happens. Is it going to work? As you guys can see, he's already enabled to communicate with NiFi. All right, that's a wrap, boys. I hope I provided you with enough initial information. We'll keep in touch with Slack, and I'll guide you guys through the next step. Feel free to use whatever other tools that you are aware, but my suggestion is to use this one because it's a wonderful tool and will help you guys now and in the future.